I am so disappointed. I thought that I had lived through this and left it behind me and moved on with my life. But just when you think that you're out, DC pulls you back in. So here I am, again doing a response for Captain Howdy's 1800 subs contest Redux. John asked 2 questions. First, to show a record that restored a band's fortune after they had fallen from grace, so to speak. And I decided on an artist that actually never was a really major record-setting artist, and that is one of my favorites, Kirsty MacColl. Kirsty MacColl started in the late 70s, made her first solo single in 1979. She did have a small success with a few of her singles. She made her first album in 1981, which practically did nothing. So her first real major hit was in late 1984 or early 1985, because it was released in December 1984, which was a song called A New England, which can be found on this fantastic 3 CD compilation. That was her biggest hit up to date, but if you look at her video for that song A New England, you can see that she was heavily pregnant by that time, and she quit music business after releasing that single. There was a follow-up single the following summer, but by that time she had already retired from music. She was married to the producer Steve Lillywhite, so she still continued to do some backing vocals, vocal harmonies, and even did co-lead vocals with Pogues on a couple of songs. But for her own career, she had retired at that point. So 5 years later, in 1989, she released Kite, and with Kite was her biggest success at that point, and this also yielded several hit singles, though again none of them were really that big hits, but this one established her as a solo artist. Her following album, Electric Landlady, 2 years later, 1991, was even bigger success than this one, but this one was the one that brought her back as a solo artist. Okay, the next one was to show a record that I consider to be a better one as a cover version than the original. And I already had sort of an idea for a song that I would use for this video, but then I saw Beep Bop Boom, do I remember the name correctly? And he showed originally Tiny Bradshaw's Train Kept a Rolling, and mentioned that that was covered by Johnny Burnett Rock and Roll Trio, which I consider to be Johnny Burnett and Rock and Roll Trio song. I associate that song with them, but he also mentioned Yardbirds and Aerosmith, who have both done a cover version of it. So that gave me the idea of the song that I would choose for this one. I chose a song that I consider that this cover song belongs to him, and I knew this cover version for I think over 30 years before I finally heard that it's not actually his original recording. And the song that I'm talking about is Fats Domino, Blueberry Hill. Blueberry Hill was actually originally released in 1940, and Fats Domino released in 1956. And it was originally a big band recording. I'm not sure who did the original version, because back in 1940, during the big band era, whenever somebody released a recording that somebody thought that would have some degree of commercial success, or possibility for commercial success, it meant that everybody covered that song, and Blueberry Hill was one of those. And I know that Glenn Miller recorded that song in 1940, and he had a big hit with it. So it's possible that Glenn Miller is the original, but I'm not sure, because the information varies somewhat depending on which source you use. The vocalist on that Glenn Miller hit was called Ray Eberle. But the one that I would, at least for the purpose of this video, would call the original version was by a guy called Russ Morgan, again a big band leader, and vocals on his recording was handled by Carol Kay, not spelled the same way as the famous bass player of the 60s sessions fame. This one is spelled K-A-Y, Carol Kay. And on that recording the arrangement is much closer to one that the Fats Domino would use. Especially the vocal line is much more closer to what Fats Domino would use on this Russ Morgan / Carol Kay recording. So I would say that for the purpose of this video at least, I would say that that one is the original. Okay, that's it for this one. Hope for once I'm able to make a short video. Hope you like this, John. Thanks for watching. Bye.